Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupara Shuttarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedānta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupara Shuttarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedānta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupara Shuttarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedānta Svāmī Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupara Shuttarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishram Vishnupara Shuttarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishra Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pavishra Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shard Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Surup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachai Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Vaja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Go. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu. Sorry, let me just. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedānta Svāmī Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vrindayai Tulsi Devai Priyayai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranams Guru Nishcha Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. And Champak Mataji and Raseshwari Mataji and Dira Mataji. And I see there are a few other devotees there. If you write a comment, I'll see who you are. Oh, Dandavat Pranams, Sripad Bhaktivedānta Sajan Maharaj, Haribol. And all the other devotees joining, watching in the future. Also, like Shachi Devi, Jayadev Prabhu, Krishna Rose, Ananda Pradayini, Vrinda Didi, Anuradha Mataji, and everybody else watching now. Pranams. So we are continuing reading from this all the different articles that Śrīla Prabhupada wrote in Gaudiya Patrika. Unfortunately, the Bhagavan Katha series the later issues were not translated, so we moved on to a different series. We're reading now Karuna Avatirna Kalo, the most compassionate avatar of Kali-yuga. So yesterday we read the first two, and now we will be continuing on from issue number 3. Dandavat pranams Niri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji. Hari Bol. Oh, and Ganga Mataji. Hari Bol. Okay, so let's begin. What happened to my video? That was weird. Huh. Seems like this boom thing is not working. Okay, let me switch the camera. There. Alright. Okay. The most compassionate avatar, part 3. Karunaya Avatirna Kalo. And this is from Rays of the Harmonist. Which issue? This is Rays of the Harmonist, Kārtika 2008, issue number 18. Sorry, one second. Okay. Continued from Rays of the Harmonist, volume 17, Kārtika 2007. In part 2 of this article, Sri Ramananda Rai explained to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the value of Varnashram Dharma as a means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu. When Mahaprabhu rejected this as external, Ramananda Rai told him that to offer Sri Krishna the results of one's action is the essence of all perfection. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 8, verses 58 to 59. So, where are we starting from? Offering Krishna the results of one's action. This is the essence of all perfection. Okay. Only the servants of Bhagavan can accept things on his behalf. And these articles are written, I think these ones are 1956. The tendency to live an unrestrained lifestyle is opposed to the principles of Varnashram Dharma. A person thus inclined, in the course of his life, will not accept the necessity of completely surrendering the results of his actions to Bhagavan. Srila Rupa Goswami donated half of his acquired wealth to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. And there's a footnote there. What does it say here? A brief description of this is found in the beginning of chapter 19 of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila. Shastra repeatedly emphasizes service to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, because only those who are servants of Bhagavan, that is, his devotees, are able to accept all things on his behalf. Mlechas and Yavanas, who are outside the Varnashram system, can also accumulate sukriti, spiritual merit, by giving in charity to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. In other words, the Lord actually extends his own hands to accept every offering made to him through the medium of serving the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Yet the members of modern civilized society, who are prone to pampering to their own whims, cannot accept this fact. Now they have become accustomed to seeing the Lord as impoverished. What is it? Daridra Narayan. Is that, I think, Gandhi, maybe? Was he the one who, the whole Daridra Narayan thing? I'm not sure. Anyways, Sri Bhagavan is never impoverished. The greatest downfall of a Nirvisheshvadi is that he considers himself and everyone else to be the Lord. And consequently, he ultimately maintains the concocted idea that everyone is the poverty-stricken Lord, Daridra Bhagavan, or Daridra Narayan. Therefore, when such Nirvisheshvadis have themselves eaten, they say, "Now the Lord has eaten," And they support this by quoting Bhagavad Gita 15:14. Aham Vaishvanara Bhutva Praninam Dehamashrita Prana Apana Samayukta Pachamyanam Chaturvidam. As the fire of digestion in the bodies of the living entities, I combine with the outgoing and incoming airs to digest the 4 types of foodstuffs. When the Lord is sitting in people's stomachs, what need is there to feed him elsewhere? And furthermore, does a god made of wood or stone have the ability to eat? Haribol Chatamai Mataji. Driven by such demoniac tendencies, these atheists have gradually diminished the royal standard of service in many ancient temples. It is said that even in Sri Puri Dham, the excellent standard of service to Sri Jagannath Dev has drastically deteriorated. It is sheer madness to think that such an atheistic world would consent to offering everything into the hands of the Lord. For this reason, Sri Gaurasundar rejected this injunction as external. And there's a footnote here. It says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, recite a shloka revealing the ultimate aim of life. Ramananda Rai answered, performing one's own occupational duties, or swadharma, is Vishnu Bhakti. He then quoted a verse from the Vishnu Puran. This verse means, the Supreme Person, Shri Vishnu, is worshipped by properly executing one's duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to please him. So that's that's Madhya Lila, chapter 8, verses 57 to 59. But it is sheer madness to think that such an atheistic world would consent to offering everything into the hands of the Lord. For this reason, Sri Gaurasundar rejected this injunction as external. Okay. Qualification for sannyas. Sri Ramananda Rai then mentions the next topic, the renunciation of fruitive action, or karma sannyas. In Kali-yuga, sannyas has come to mean the mere acceptance of sannyas garb. But the actual prerequisite for sannyas is a purified heart. When one becomes detached from the fruits of action by performing selfless work, nishkam karma, one's renunciation is perfect. On the other hand, if anyone accepts sannyas while his heart is still impure, then the thirst for enjoyment will fully remain. His sannyas is not a means to achieve love for Krishna, Krishna Prem. First of all, in Kali Yuga, it is not possible for everyone to accept karma sannyas. Moreover, even for those who can accept it, such sannyas, which is a way of living above karma, is simply a state of harmony with the 3 modes of material nature. It cannot help one attain love of God, Bhagavat Prem. The reason for this is that the Viraja river, the dividing line between the material and spiritual natures, is the very place where the 3 modes of material nature exist in a state of harmony. And although the predominance of the 3 modes is not perceived in the Viraja river, the internal potency of Bhagavan is still not active there. Bhagavad Bhakti, loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, is possible when one is in the shelter of his internal potency known as Yoga Maya. Mahatmanastu. The great souls always remain in the shelter of my divine energy. That's Bhagavad Gita 9:13. A person may achieve deliverance from the illusory potency, or Mahamaya, but unless he receives the shelter of the internal potency, or Yoga Maya, it is impossible for him to grasp the message of Vaikuntha. The prime reason that Sri Gaurasundar advented in this world was to deliver to its inhabitants the message of Vaikuntha, and to bestow upon them immaculate, transcendental, and spontaneous love of God, Bhagavat Prem. This Prem is devoid of any sense of awe and reverence, and issues from the ocean of Bhav, transcendental emotions, in the incomparable realm of Goloka Vrindavan, the topmost place in Vaikuntha. What, therefore, can renunciants, can sannyasis understand about the unparalleled entity, regardless of whether their hearts are pure or impure? Understanding that those renunciates lack eligibility to receive Krishna Tattva Ras, Sri Gaurasundar also rejected the acceptance of such sannyas, regarding it as external. So since they lack eligibility to receive Krishna Tattva Ras, what's Krishna Tattva Ras? Is the ambrosia of Krishna Tattva, or the ambrosia of the reality of Sri Krishna. But yeah, the acceptance of such sannyas, Mahaprabhu said, is external. Now, devotion mixed with empiric knowledge. Sri Ramananda Rai then spoke about Jnana Mishra Bhakti, our devotion that is mixed with a desire for liberation. On this path, after a person finally attains the stage of self-realization called Brahmabhuta, and subsequently becomes full of bliss, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, he may then perceive the path of devotion to the Lord. However, until he actually sees it, the prospect of merging with the impersonal aspect of the Supreme, Nirvishesh Shayujya Mukti, blinds him. This prospect of merging in with the impersonal aspects blinds him. For a pure devotee of Bhagavan, this Sayujya Mukti is no better than hell. He refuses any kind of salvation. The devotee refuses any kind of salvation other than loving service to Bhagavan, even though the Lord is eager to award him various other kinds of mukti, like attainment of a form similar to his own, Sarupya Mukti, and residence on the same planet, on the same planet as him, Salokya Mukti. What is that verse in the Diyamanam Nagrinanti Marpak? Diyamanam Nagrinanti Matsevanam Jana. Vina Matsevanam Jana. That even when these 5 types of liberation are offered to the devotee, Diyamanam Nagrinanti, even though they're offered, Nagrinanti, they do not accept them without service to me. So thus, in Jnana Mishra Bhakti, there is no hope of ever attaining pure love. A person with the egotism that he has already liberated can have no realization of the variegated features of absolute reality, he who casts away all delusion. Therefore, such egotism reflects the tendency to be antagonistic to Bhagavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu imparted to the world the eternal object of the eternally pure living entity's worship, the Nitya Sevya Vastu of the Nitya Shuddha Jiva. So the Sevya Vastu means the object of worship, the eternal Nitya Sevya Vastu, the eternal object of worship of the eternally pure Jiva, Nitya Shuddha Jiva. So what is that eternal object of worship for the pure living entity? The worship of the Nitya Sevya Vastu is not a concocted religion that has arisen from someone's imagination. It is the soul's intrinsic function. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descended to personally give this. He thus embodies the statement, Karunaya Avatirna Kalo, the most compassionate incarnation who has descended in this age of Kali. It's amazing that some people don't contest this, that this is the soul's intrinsic function. Devotion devoid of empiric knowledge. Ordered by Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Ramananda Rai then introduced the transcendental natural religion, the path of devotion to Bhagavan devoid of empiric knowledge, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. This can be pursued by everyone. And it is the only universal path that is suitable for all living entities, the young and the old, women, scholars, wretches, fools, yavanas, those from tribal castes like the Kirata and Hunandra, and Brahmanas, Hindus and Muslims, natives and foreigners, and all societies of humans. This can be pursued by everyone. It's the universal path for every type of living entity. Indeed, it is even suitable for souls in every species of life, such as animals, birds, insects, and worms, in whatever species they appear. For the first time in their conversation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu responded by saying, "This is all right." In order to express the process for attaining Jnana Shunya Bhakti, Sri Ramananda Rai quoted the prayers that Brahma offered after he stole the Krishna's cows and calves. Jnane prayasa mudupasya namanta eva jivanti sammukaritam bhavadiya vartam sthane stita shrutigatam tanuvan manobhir ye prayaso jita jito pyasitais trilokyam. That's 14th chapter of the 10th canto, verse 3. The translation is, O Lord, in all the three worlds, you are unconquerable. Yet you are easily defeated by those devotees who shun the endeavor to acquire knowledge empirically by meditating on undifferentiated Brahma, who hear about you through the narrations emanating from the mouths of sadhus, and who thus carry out their life, following the path of the saints with their body, mind, and words. For those people, even though you're unconquerable, you are easily defeated by those devotees. This, indeed, is the first and quintessential explanation of the means to attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift, the form of Krishna Prem indicated by the statement, Anarpita Charim Chira. Upon hearing about this process from Sri Ramananda Rai's lotus mouth, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately accepted it. This is all right, he said, but speak further. Until this point, they had discussed topics related to observing the duties of one's caste and social order, Varnashram Dharma, offering the results of one's actions to the Lord, Nishkam Karma Yoga, and ceasing all action performed for a fruit of reward and thus renouncing action, Karma Sannyas, and engaging in devotion that is mixed with dry speculative knowledge, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, with the desire to attain liberation. The entire world has taken these topics and changed and twisted them to concoct innumerable philosophies. However, it is imperative to carefully consider how all of these philosophies are unable to give Prema Pumartha Mahan, the fifth and ultimate goal of human life, Krishna Prem. All these paths, Varnashram Dharma, Nishkam Karma Yoga, Karma Sannyasa, and Jnana Mishra Bhakti, none of them can give the fifth and ultimate goal of human life, Krishna Prem. Bhakti herself destroys the threefold miseries. The greatest obstacle to achieving love for Krishna is the effort to search out the impersonal aspect of the Supreme, Brahma Anusandhan. Tar madhe moksha vancha kaitava pradhan, jaha hoite Krishna bhakti hoy antardhan. In the Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 92, says, among all types of deception, hankering for impersonal salvation is more full of conceit than any other. In its presence, loving devotion to Krishna vanishes. Those who secretly hanker for liberation should not try to understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu propagated Bhagavat Dharma, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the hankering for liberation has been thoroughly denounced. The Bhagavat Dharma refers to the eternal and pure loving service to Sri Krishna as revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam. So in that Srimad Bhagavatam, the hankering for liberation has been thoroughly denounced. Bhagavad Bhakti is herself the destroyer of suffering and the eradicator of the threefold miseries. If those who hanker for mukti with the hope of becoming free from the threefold miseries take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet and become initiated into the Harer Nama mantra, which he propagated, then as soon as they bear the victory flag of Sri Krishna Kirtan, the mirror of their heart will be cleansed, and the blazing forest fire of their material existence will be extinguished. Indeed, by this, one becomes acquainted with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's compassion. The fruit of Sri Krishna Sankirtan. As a result of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, a heart that would ordinarily have to be purified by the performance of many sacrifices, charitable acts, and austerities can be cleansed even just by the initial result of inoffensive Krishna Kirtan. Liberation from the three kinds of suffering, or from the mundane realm, which is governed by the three modes of material nature, is but the secondary result of Krishna Kirtan. Yet those in the impersonalist school, the Jnani Sampradaya, undergo painstaking austerities birth after birth just to achieve it. After liberation from matter, along with the blossoming of the supremely beneficial Bhagavad Bhakti, the very life of the goddess of transcendental knowledge is revived. The ocean of bliss swells. The soul achieves complete good fortune, and all other fruits of Bhagavad Bhakti are realized in a natural sequence. Those who search after these fruits through awareness of non-differentiation cannot find them. Therefore, from the very beginning, it is proper to abandon endeavors. To find undifferentiated Brahma through knowledge. The snare of impersonalism. This search for undifferentiated Brahma is merely an artificial, wicked endeavor. Every human being naturally accepts that Bhagavan is beyond compare. Those on a lower level of God realization admire his potencies, and those on a higher platform acknowledge the Lord himself as Sarva Shaktiman, the possessor of all potencies. As a matter of misfortune, people have fallen into the clutches of the wicked, impersonalist non-devotees and have gradually undertaken the pursuit of the impersonal aspect of reality. The last trap of Maya is the endeavor to gain knowledge about undifferentiated Brahma. It's the last trap of Maya. When human society displays its erudition, its intelligence is stolen by illusion in this way. Otherwise, everyone generally accepts that the Lord has no equal, and it is their position to serve him. For this reason, the common men who have not associated with the impersonalists, they are qualified to hear Mahaprabhu's message. However, by the influence of Kali, this destructive doctrine of impersonalism has cast its net in various ways and is ensnaring innocent people. The duty of those who introduce themselves as the servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to instruct these innocent people about Krishna and protect them from the clutches of impersonalism. If we are to protect people from the clutches of unauthorized sects who are malicious towards the Lord, then it is necessary to firmly preach the conceptions of the Bhagavat Sampradaya, the lineage of the highest order of exalted gurus. All are qualified to hear about Krishna. The second proposal made in the Jnane Prayasam verse, formerly cited, is to hear Bhagavat Kirtan, the singing of Bhagavan's glories from the mouths of sadhus. Everyone has the qualification for this. The high-born as well as the low, scholars and the uneducated, natives and foreigners, adherents of one religion or of another, animals and birds, worms and insects, all of these people have the eligibility to hear Krishna Kirtan from the mouths of sadhus. Qualifications like high birth, wealth, scholarship, or beauty are not required for this. Maharaj Parikshit achieved the mercy of Bhagavan simply by hearing, Shravan, and Śrīla Shukadev Goswami by chanting, Kirtan. Thus, everyone can hear Krishna Kirtan from the mouths of sadhus and carry out their lives in a humble manner. Krishna Kirtan refers to that Kirtan which Krishna himself has sung, as well as Kirtan that describes everything related to his name, form, qualities, pastimes, and the specialities of his associates. Bhagavan Shri Krishna personally spoke the Bhagavad Gita. He instructed it to the sun god, who in turn imparted it to Manu, and Manu then told it to Ikshvaku, In this way, through the disciplic succession, the saintly kings became acquainted with the yoga system propounded in Bhagavad Gita. The importance of hearing from the right source. The secret of Bhagavad Gita cannot be discovered without accepting the shelter of a bona fide parampara, nor can it be unraveled by the tedious wrangling of the Mayavadis. The manner in which the devotees of Bhagavan explain Bhagavad Gita is the only manner of explanation worth hearing. Mayavadir bhashya shunile hoy sarvanash. One's spiritual life will be completely destroyed if one hears the commentary of the Mayavadis. The parampara resumed with Arjuna, a most glorious devotee of the Lord. Arjuna accepted the Lord as the eternal personality, the unborn, the indivisible, the absolute truth, the supreme shelter, and the complete whole. His words concur with the opinion of various rishis, such as Devarshi Narad, Vyas, Devala, Asita, and other exalted Mahajans. In Bhagavad Gita, even the Lord himself declares his unprecedented supreme personhood. If someone rejects all these conclusions, and instead hears the impersonalist commentaries of the Mayavadis, which presents the conception that the absolute truth is devoid of attributes, nirvisheshvad, or if he listens to those who maintain the conception that one should identify one's own self as the object of worship, aham grahanopasana, then he will surely go to the darkest regions of hell. As a matter of fact, for the devotee, every form of mundane enjoyment, from happiness found in the lower planets, all the way up to the happiness of being one with the Absolute, Kaivalya Sukh, is the darkest hell. Srimad Bhagavatam, the Immaculate Puran, which describes the names, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Immaculate Puran, which describes the names, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. It is proper to hear these descriptions from the Parampara. Jaho Bhagavata Poro Vaishnaverastani. One must study the Bhagavatam by approaching a Vaishnav and accepting his shelter. That's in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 5.131. Except for the Bhakta Bhagavat, who never explains Bhagavatam to earn a living, no one can explain the Grantha Bhagavat. The word sadhu implies the Bhakta Bhagavat. And there's a footnote here. It says, in the Jnani Prayasam verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.3, cited previously, the word sat in the term sat mukaritam refers to sadhus. And mukaritam, the word sat means sadhus, and mukaritam literally means emanating from the mouths. Hence, sat mukaritam refers to narrations by sadhus. Those who exclusively perform Bhagavad Bhajan are indeed sadhus. If one can hear powerful narrations about Bhagavan from the mouths of such sadhus, and apply the instructions within these narrations to one's own life, then Ajita, the unconquerable Lord, will become Jitta, will become conquered. To do this, one will have to establish oneself in Brahmanya Dharma, in which one acquires the nature and qualities of a Brahman. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all human beings have the qualification to situate themselves in Brahmanya Dharma. Furthermore, according to the verse Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyasi Shudra Kene Noy from Madhya Lila 8.128, anyone established in Brahmanya Dharma has the qualification to continuously perform kirtan of the narrations about Krishna. If one is to establish himself in Brahmanya Dharma, one must become endowed with such qualities as truthfulness, control over the mind, control over the senses, tolerance, simplicity, knowledge, practical realization, belief in the Lord, and cleanliness. Only those who live their lives keeping deceit, cunning, untruthfulness, deception, cheating, theft, and abominable desires at a distance, and to hear Harikatha from sadhus who are expert in bhajan, can completely drive away the tendency to collect knowledge, which takes the form of searching for the undifferentiated aspect of the Absolute. On the strength of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, such people are qualified to give the fifth goal of human life, Bhagavat Prem. This indeed is the greatly generous gift of the most compassionate avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is thus shown conclusively that he gives full meaning to the statement, Karunaya Avatirna Kalo, the most compassionate avatar who descends in this Kali-yuga. Thus concludes the third and final part of the series of articles entitled Karunaya Avatirna Kalo, translated from Sri Gaudiya Patrika, Year 7, Issue 3, 1956. Okay, wow. I wonder what is the next articles that come in Rays of the Harmonist. Which issue is this? This is number 18, Kārtika 2008. What's after that? Casting off the mundane is external. Let's see. Oh, they just have the next issue of Rays of the Harmonist. They just have an excerpt from what we just read. Okay, let's see the next issue. What's this? Shri Krishna Lila and mundane sense gratification. Let's see how long that is. If it's short, then we can read it. If not, then maybe we'll just have a short day today. It's not way too long. I think we can read it. We have 20 minutes. Okay. So, Shri Krishna Lila and mundane sense gratification. And what is this from? Let's just see where it's. This is from Gaudiya Patrika, Year 9, Issue 11, 1958. My mom painted that. She painted the border in that. It's the LA temple. Okay. Shri Krishna Lila and mundane sense gratification by Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Svāmī Prabhupāda. Is human misery a pastime of God? Is God responsible for all the varieties of misery that man must face, or not? When a Swami, who is a regular visitor to Delhi, was asked this question by the good Dr. Sharma, he presented his answer in front of everyone in the assembly. He said, "The miseries visible in human life, whatever they may be, are all a pastime of the Lord." Dr. Sharma lives and practices medicine in Delhi. He is a keen seeker of truth and an avid reader of our Back to Godhead magazine, and he often inquires from me on a variety of topics. The good doctor found the Swami's answer to his question completely unsatisfying. That the miseries visible in human life are all a pastime of the Lord. No, that's not a satisfying answer. He countered by saying that if all of a person's activities are to be considered a pastime of the Lord, then why is it said that man must experience the results of his own pious and sinful activities? When the Swami attempted to justify his explanation simply by repeating the same phrase, "It is all a pastime of the Lord," then Dr. Sharma exclaimed in the midst of the assembly, "I am not satisfied with your answer." But the common people in the audience were simply listening to their arguments. No one could understand the essence of the topic, nor did anyone even try to understand it. On many occasions, we too come across this question, which is ever stirring in the human mind. Why did God create so much misery in this world? Is it all his pastime? The truth, though, is quite different from what this question implies. Among all the meaningless obstacles monists have created in this world by conceiving of God and the living entity as existing in total oneness, none is more severe than the introduction of this particular type of doubt. The activities of souls that are imprisoned by the material energy are mundane. But these impersonalists, on account of their claim that God and the living being exists in total oneness, are obliged to attribute such mundane activities to the pastimes of God. Without doing so, they would not be able to reconcile their statements like, God is in distress, or God is begging alms. Therefore, it is not possible to support the doctrine of impersonalism, a doctrine which completely destroys one's spiritual life, without concocting the alleged divine theologies that are conveyed by statements such as Narayan has become impoverished to enact the pastime of begging, or Narayan has become a pig to enact the pastime of feeding on stool, or the Supreme Spirit in the form of deliciously prepared chicken eggs is reposed within the belly of that same Supreme Spirit in the form of a holy mendicant. And the like. Oh God. Okay. It is for this reason that Srimad Mahaprabhu clearly stated, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoy Sarvanash. Hearing the commentary of a Mayavadi, it completely destroys one's spiritual life. As long as this form of artificial spiritualism, known as impersonalism, is not expelled from the world, the common man shall not be able to comprehend Shri Krishna's identity, nor his name, qualities, and so forth. Foolish people readily accept such malformed theologies simply because they are sold out to their sect, but they are unable to comprehend the real implication of their conception. What else could be the fate of a common man who keeps the harmful association, the asat sangha of the impersonalists, but to be misled and converted to atheism, only to engage in mere sense gratification? Transcendental pleasure necessitates variety. In all the Sattvita Tantras, the treatises on the science of worshipping Sri Krishna, and in various Vedic literatures such as the Puranas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is proclaimed to be Lila Purushottam, the Supreme Person who is always engaged in charming transcendental pastimes. And this same topic has been given special attention in chapter 15 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, entitled Purushottam Yoga. The severity of the damage caused by the Mayavadis, the impersonalists who consider all variety to be an illusion, in equating the transcendental pastimes of Lila Purushottam Shri Krishna with the ordinary mundane activities of a mortal human being, is indescribable. The severity of the damage caused by these Mayavadis is indescribable. At one point in Srimad Bhagavatam, as Śrīla Shukadeva Goswami was while he was establishing the unequaled and unsurpassed position of Sri Krishna Lila, King Parikshit inquired about an apparent indecency. In reply, Śrīla Shukadeva Goswami explains to the king that Sri Krishna Lila can never be indecent. He who is the sole enjoyer of all in the entire realm of material nature, of Prakriti, and who is residing in the hearts of all living beings as Antaryami, that Sri Krishna, who is witness to the intelligence of all, manifested his transcendental form during his pastimes with the damsels of Vraj. He thus exhibited supreme benevolence towards his devotees by manifesting the divine Ras Lila of Goloka, even within this material world. And see 10th canto, chapter 30, especially verse 39, beginning Vikriditam Rajavadu Bhiridam Cha Vishnu. In the Vedanta Darshan, the Vedanta Sutras, The Sutra Ananda Mayo Bhyasat, the Supreme Absolute Truth, Parabrahma, is full of rapture. The scriptures repeatedly describe him as such. That's in the 12th Sutra from the beginning of Vedanta Sutra. So this Ananda Maya Bhyasat points exclusively to Parabrahma Shri Krishna. The impersonalist commentators encounter extreme difficulties when they try to explain this sutra, because they cannot comprehend the true meaning of rapture, of Ananda. They just try to protect the reputation of their sampradaya by saying hoi hoi, which means the phrase translates roughly to yes, yes, it is so. In the present context, it indicates yes, yes, there is Ananda. But they don't actually understand it. They can't explain it. They say, yeah, whatever. But the simple explanation is that rapture, that Ananda, can never be experienced in undifferentiated oneness. Because who is there to experience it? Accordingly, Brahma cannot be alone. For how can rapture, how can Ananda exist without the existence of some kind of variegatedness? And how then can someone ever experience rapture if he conceives of Bhagavan as devoid of any distinguishing features? Such a conception can only reside in the brain of an impersonalist. No one else could ever conceive of such a thing. Srimad Bhagavad Gita 12.5 has therefore clearly mentioned that there is no limit to the miseries of the impersonalists. Kleshodhi karatastesham avyakta sakta chetasam. This is Bhagavad Gita, verse 5 of the 12th chapter. Those whose minds are attached to the featureless absolute must experience great difficulty. For how can an embodied soul fix his mind on something unmanifest? Why are big cities like Delhi so populated? These big cities have a special allure because they offer countless forms of enjoyment. They feature wide open roads, enormous skyscrapers, spacious parks and gardens, a variety of vehicles for transportation, a plethora of centers for entertainment and recreation, different businesses and trade centers, and a broad diversity of cuisines. On account of all this, people are gradually flocking into the cities just as insects rush into a dazzling fire lamp. Enchanted by the beauty of the countryside, the English poet Cowper stated, "God made the country, and man made the town." That's from The Task. But the natural beauty of a village is also just a special variety of allurement, which itself evokes a certain kind of enjoyment. Be it in the village or the city, everyone is simply mad to experience some special variegated pleasure. How can it be denied, then, that rapture exists in a state of abundant variety? The impersonalists assert that just as mundane variegatedness is illusory, transcendental variegatedness is also illusory. This alone is their most incurable ailment. The conclusion that the Supreme Absolute Spirit would also not experience rapture without such variegatedness is clearly established in the Sutra Ananda Mayo Bhyasat. The ploy of the impersonalists. That Swami from the assembly had renounced his home and acquired the attire of a renunciate. He too is especially striving to taste Brahmananda, spiritual rapture, while remaining exclusively within Delhi's city limits. And indeed, how would he have been able to experience the Brahmananda of relishing a cup of tea and resting in an opulent Delhi palace? or the Brahmananda, the so-called Brahmananda, of being in the company of beautiful young ladies, if he had taken up residence in some dull, monotonous forest? Still, he does not fail to render God featureless. Unquestionably, that sannyasi is himself a specimen of Brahman. If those Brahmas who are in the grip of Maya, that is, the infinitesimal fragments of spirit, if those so-called Brahmas can be so attached to material variegatedness, then why can't Brahma, that is the Supreme Spirit Bhagavan, who is ever liberated, be attracted to transcendental variegatedness? Only the depraved impersonalists can foolishly assert that variegatedness only exists in mundane matter, and hence they dare to manipulatively equate their own mundane sense gratification with lila. Apart from such manipulative rationalization, the impersonalists can find no recourse for their blatant sense gratification. According to them, all material variegatedness is temporary and corporeal. It's all achit. They therefore find it difficult to accept any kind of variegatedness, and so try to establish that the pastimes of the Lord too are corporeal and temporary. But the Vaishnavas, who are the particles of dust affixed to the lotus feet of he who enjoys transcendental variety, know very well that the existence of Chid Vilas, the playful dalliance of transcendence, in no way denies the existence of material variegatedness. In fact, material variegatedness is a perverted reflection of its eternal transcendental counterpart. As such, the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, quite opposite to their perverted reflection, are in fact the supreme eternal truth which completely vanquishes all deception. Therefore, variegatedness is also present in the transcendental world, where the playful dalliance of transcendence is supremely admirable. This alone is the true meaning of the sutra Anandamayo Bhyasat. The supreme absolute truth, Parabrahma, is full of rapture. The scriptures repeatedly describe him as such. Just worship Govinda. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is the embodiment of Sat, Chit, and Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And to amplify his bliss, he's expanded himself in two ways: expansions of his own personal form, his swangsha, and his infinitesimal separated parts, vibhinangsha. The argument that by expanding himself to become many, he has lost his own identity, goes against the purport of the hymn from Shruti, Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Whatever emanates from the absolute whole is itself completely whole. And even after unlimited complete wholes emanate from him, he remains the absolute whole. That's the invocation to Sri Ishupanishad. This mantra declares the existence of the Supreme Absolute Being. He is Ekam Eva Advitiyam. He is one without a second. That's in Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.1 and also Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2. But just as fire is one, yet exists everywhere, he exists in his spiritual abode of Goloka with his multifarious potencies, where he engages in his transcendent and his eternal pastimes. And he alone exists within the heart of every living being as the indwelling supersoul, Antaryami. So, in this manner, Lila Purushottam Bhagavan has indeed expanded his pastimes everywhere. But the transcendental rapture of these pastimes can never be equated with mundane pleasure. Monists are actually attracted to nothing but Bhagavan's bodily effulgence, the Brahmajyoti, which pervades all that is. They have thus become beggars, aspiring for spiritual rapture or Brahmananda. When even the luster of the toenails of Sri Bhagavan's lotus feet contains millions of Brahmajyotis, how can Bhagavan's pastimes, or the rapture therein, be material? The insignificant living beings can easily become attracted to spiritual rapture, to Brahmananda, because it is many millions of times more substantial than the pleasure available in inert matter, Jarananda. But the eternal pastimes that have been manifested for the pleasure of Satchid Ananda Vigraha Shri Krishna are one of the special characteristics of Krishna's internal potency of pleasure, the Hladini Shakti. And the pastimes that are manifested by that potency are called Krishna Lila. Those who are inclined towards Brahmananda are not able to comprehend even the smallest fraction of that divine Krishna Lila. Considering it to be just like mundane sense enjoyment, they engage in practices that are devoid of any joy. It is impossible for anyone to comprehend the subject matter of Hladini Shakti until one becomes qualified to delve deep into the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Since the impersonalists cannot attain the necessary qualification to fathom the deep meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Shankaracharya has written a commentary on Vedanta named the Shariraka Bhashya, just to bewilder them and ensure that they remain occupied only with his commentary. This deed was in truth a pastime carried out by Sripad Shankaracharya for the purpose of misleading the demons. Sripad Shankaracharya actually knew everything. As such, up to his last day, he actually instructed the dull-headed Mayavadis just to perform loving worship of Sri Govinda. This mundane plane, which caters to the human being's thirst for sense enjoyment, is nothing but the arena of the threefold miseries. Transcendental pastimes can in no way be enacted on this mundane stage. There is no one more untraditional and contrary than he who considers the divine pastimes of the Lord and the living beings' material sense enjoyment, which is simply the result of their previous karma, to be one and the same. It is to be understood that it is simply due to the insurmountable material energy's influence upon the impersonalists that they plan to become full of pleasure in this mundane world. Any intelligent person can easily understand that this world is not the place to take up permanent residence. That realization is indeed absolute truth. It is very different from the notions that have arisen out of some counterfeit scriptures or the school of half-baked ideas. In a world full of miseries, mundane sense enjoyment is nothing more than the result of attempting to eliminate distress through mundane endeavors. Everyone here endlessly endeavors, with all their vitality, to fulfill their dreams of achieving happiness. But such endeavors are also part of this mundane illusory plane. The influence of the material energy is so intense that it renders our endeavors unsuccessful hundreds of times over. Does that then mean that we should give up all kinds of efforts to achieve happiness? No, that is not possible. But we must engage in that pursuit in which even a small endeavor can free us from the most fearful troubles. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Those who engage themselves in the activities of Sanatana Dharma, that is Bhagavat Dharma, their spiritual duty to Bhagavan, even slightly, will surely be delivered from the most severe terror, fear of death, and the dread of any hellish fate. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 240. This is translated from Sri Gaudiya Patrika, Year 9, Issue 11, 1958. Okay, so that is our program for today. I think there might be one more day of reading, and then we'll have read all the Rays of the Harmonist articles by Śrīla Prabhupāda, I think. Alright, so we'll do a short Mahamantra and then end our program for today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Shri Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Swaparsha Jigo Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigana Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Svāmī Prabhupāda Transcendental Writings Ki Jai, Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dandavat pranams. Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Champak Mataji, I guess Chatamai Mataji just left, Raseshwari Mataji, Shripad Bhaktivedānta Sadan Maharaj, Dandavat pranams Maharaj, Ganga Mataji, Rasapriya Didi, and I see there are 9 people on YouTube and Facebook watching right now. I'm guessing Indira Mataji is there. I don't know who else is there, but if you write a comment, I'll see your name. Also, pranams all the devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi, Jayadev Prabhu, Krishna Rose, Ananda Pradayani, Vrinda Didi, Anuradha Mataji, and everybody else. Dandavat pranams. So, I guess tomorrow will be our last reading of Srila Prabhupada's articles. So, see you all tomorrow for that. Haribol, Jai Shri Radhe. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before I end the stream for today? Alright, see you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Haribol.